Hello everybody out there, this is Literature for 247. This video is about an interesting non-African novel titled Parts of Lucas, written by Susanne Bellefeuille. This novel is in the WAEC 2026 to 2030 syllabus, and earlier on this platform we've discussed the plot summary as well as chapters 1 to 32. This is chapter 33 of the novel. You're welcome to the classroom. In the last chapter, chapter 32, Lucas and Isabel are now grandparents because of the baby of Richard and Jessie. And also, towards the end of the chapter, Richard is rushed to the hospital because he is suspected of cancer in his throat. Let's see what happens here. Richard is in the Hotwire City Hospital for part of the week. He has been on oxygen because he still can't breathe well. He finds it difficult to swallow and his voice is becoming hoarse. The doctor explains to Richard that if there is a tumor, they will operate. The new test results arrive on December 31, and the doctor tells Richard that he has a cancerous tumor. Richard is demoralized by the diagnosis, and the doctor says he will be operated on the next morning. Dr. Ray explains further that if they remove the tumor, there is a 50% chance of surviving and becoming cancer-free. Richard tells the doctor to relay the information to his family as he is becoming too weak. Dr. Ray then puts a call through to Lucas and introduces himself as the surgical oncologist who reviewed Richard's test results. He tells Lucas that Richard has a tumor in his throat and will undergo surgery the following morning by 6 a.m. He says they may see him by 5:30 a.m. before the operation. Remember that Richard is taken to Ottawa to a specialist to interpret the results. Lucas already shedding tears asks the doctor whether it's a complicated operation. Dr. Ray replied that it depends on the size of the tumor and the location, but it should take a few hours. He tells the doctor that they will be at the hospital before the operation is carried out. He hands up and wipes his face before going to the kitchen. As Lucas walks in slowly, Isabel suspects that Richard has cancer. He then informs the family that Richard has cancer and will be operated the following morning. They all feel sober and break down crying because of the sad news about Richard. There is no New Year's Eve celebration because everyone is at the farm to support each other. Lucas and Isabel hardly slept that night. Everyone was still sleeping by 4 a.m. except Lucy, who was taking care of Pay. Lucy tells Lucas to call her when Richard is out of the surgery to inform others. Lucas responds that she will be the first to know and tells her to be strong for Richard as there is a 50% chance of surviving. It is on New Year's Day 1980 and Lucas arrives with Isabel and Jessie at the hospital. When Jessie enters Richard's room, she sees him on the bed fragile. She observes there is a change in his physique within a day. Lucas and Isabel also enter and exchange pleasantries. He now comes in to prepare Richard for the operation, moving him from the bed to agony. Jessie and Isabel kiss Richard and Lucas wishes him well and kisses him on the cheek. They watch Richard being wheeled away by the nurse. Some hours later, the doctor has not been heard from. Jessie sleeps on the lawn chair and Isabel covers her with a blanket. Lucas goes and gets coffee for the two of them, and while coming back, he sees the doctor from a distance. Dr. Ray later joins them and gives them the good news that Richard is successfully operated. Dr. Ray later joins them and give them the good news that Richard is successfully operated on and doesn't have cancer again. He says Richard needs to rest, but they can see him briefly. They all appreciate the doctor for a job well done. Dr. Reed tells them to follow a nurse to see Richard and that he will meet them there. Lucas immediately calls Lucy as promised and brings the new news before seeing Richard. A few days later, while Richard is recovering, John's health worsens. Elizabeth calls an ambulance to take him to the hospital. Lucas has gone to Ottawa with Isabel, Chelsea, and Faye to visit Richard. Elizabeth calls James and he takes her to the hospital in Cornwall. When Lucas arrives from Ottawa, he finds a note on the kitchen table that his father has been rushed to the hospital. He tells Isabel about it and that James took them to the hospital. Lucas can't believe that he can be experiencing all this from one crisis to another. Isabel tells him that they should go to the hospital. Lucas and Isabel go to the hospital and he not direct them to room 214. Elizabeth sits by John's bed with James by her side. In response to Lucas' question, Elizabeth explains that his father had a bad attack and couldn't breathe. She called an ambulance to take him to the hospital. The doctor just told them that his lung collapsed and she started crying that John was dying, according to the doctor. Lucas asks James if anything can be done to save their father. James replies that the man's eye is red and moist and says he's dying. Isabel comforts James as Lucas holds on to his father affectionately. Richard leaves the hospital on January 8th and tells Lucas to drive to Cornwall Hospital to see his grandfather. At the hospital, Richard walks to John's hospital room, holds his hand and tells him he loves him. He tells him that he's not cancer-free, and John and Elizabeth are happy to hear this. Lucas notices that Richard is becoming weak and he tells him to go home and rest. Lucas takes Isabel, Richard, and Jesse back home. Lucas and Isabel go out the following morning to shop for groceries. The overlapping events do not permit them to go shopping since. So it's only Lucy at home. It's only Lucy that is at home presently. She later received a call from Elizabeth that John was dead. That is Lucas' father. Elizabeth says she has called James to come and take her home from the hospital. Remember, they are in the hospital. Lucy tells her that Lucas and Isabel have gone to shop for groceries and are just arriving. She runs out to tell her father that Elizabeth wants to talk to him. Elizabeth breaks the news of his father's death to him and he just bows his head and sits on the couch. Isabel and Lucy sit by his side, comforting him. Lucas remembers the great life he had with his father. The sacrifice he made for him by abandoning his career in mechanics, which could have made him more comfortable. He has been a good son to his father, and his father is also a responsible father. The funeral takes place on a cold, snowy day. Lucas, James, and Mary prepare a eulogy for their father. 6 of the grandchildren serve as pallbearers, as John demanded some years back. The following month is Lucy's delivery month. A room is prepared for her by Lucas and Isabel to stay in until she gets married to Justin. On the due date, Justin takes Lucy to the hospital and tells Lucas and Isabel that Lucy is in labor. Isabel rushes to the hospital to stay with Lucy. On February 10th, Lucy gives birth to a bouncing baby boy weighing 7 pounds and 12 ounces. The couple are happy for the beautiful boy they have. Lucas is at the hospital to see his daughter and grandson. Lucy and Justin then tell him that they will name the boy Daniel. Lucas and Isabel have had a difficult winter, but their love is still strong. Spring has arrived and they are now proud grandparents with Lucy's baby boy. They come together frequently at the farmhouse as a close-knit family. They always mention John in their discourse, Elizabeth in particular, because you see they are close-knit family. They are always there for one another. They are all enjoying the beautiful month of May until Richard falls sick again. He is diagnosed with cancer again, this time on his lymph nodes. Hence, he has to go for chemotherapy and radiation therapy with different medications. Lucas and Isabel are always there for Richard. Lucas finds a mobile home for him and his family on the farm. This will allow them to be closer to him in case of an emergency. But Richard has a year to live. That is according to the doctor. Lucy and Justin are getting married, and Isabel dresses her daughter. Lucas watches with surprise how Lucy has grown to become a woman. He casts his mind back to Isabel in her wedding gown on their wedding day. Lucas drives his daughter to the church in a white Cadillac. He becomes emotional while walking her down the aisle, but keeps it to himself. Lucas observes from a distance how everybody in the family is happy, including Richard. Christmas is around the corner again, and Isabel wants to make it the best because it's Richard's last Christmas. Richard feels at his bed and appreciates his parents for such a wonderful time. Lucas and Isabel are happy, but deep down are sorrowful because of Richard. Richard's health starts to deteriorate early in the spring. He requests from his father to stay in the farmhouse to be near to them for his remaining days. Lucas prepares a room for him, but within weeks he has to be hospitalized as his condition deteriorates further. Lucas takes him to the emergency department at the Civic Hospital in Ottawa. He is put in a private room where he is on intravenous morphine for his pain. Unfortunately, Richard breathed his last on May 14, 1981. Isabel is by his side and Chelsea sleeps on the couch, while Lucas just goes out for a few minutes when he dies. Isabel holds his hand crying as Lucas comes in. The latter knows that Richard is gone when he sees Isabel crying. Lucas looks at Richard, closes his eyes and kisses him on the cheek. He then breaks down crying, and this wakes up Chelsea, who also cries. Richard's funeral is a painful moment for the family, but Lucas tries to stay strong for them. Lucy prepares a eulogy for him, in which Lucas is proud of her for the beautiful presentation. After Richard's funeral, Lucas was away from the luncheon program for fresh air. He walks towards a nearby forest and sits under a tree. While thinking about the loss of his firstborn at the age of 41, he sees a monarch butterfly flying around him. Lucas believes that the butterfly is Richard. So that was chapter 33 of Parts of Lucas, written by Susanne Bellefeuille. Please, if you are new on this platform, try and click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you'll be part of this class. And whenever any video is produced, you are going to be notified that there is a new video from Literature Hub 247. Like this video, you are free to share it on any social media platform. Please try and introduce this platform to your friends and colleagues, teachers in the house. Introduce this platform to your students. If you have any question or comments, send it to the comment section and it will be attended to. And let me also tell you that all these videos are linked together from the plot summary through all the chapters. Just make sure you watch one to the end. The next video pops up. Thank you and God bless. Let's meet in the next class.